A thread by Carlos Osuita. Here's a message for the Iowan One, Gary Addy, Shannon SWG, and all the other zero information leftists crowing over the harassment of Senator Rand Paul. Paul wrote the Justice for Breonna Taylor Act. You idiots didn't even know that. Now that you know, you won't admit that you're wrong. And this is good for sane America. It means your side is going to be beaten like Max Taylor's drums. In the 1970s, there were so many bombings that Americans lost interest. Terrorists bombed a theater in the Bronx that was playing The Liberation of L.B. Jones. The crowd refused to leave until the movie was over. They just waved away the smoke and ignored the cops. It was mostly white people, a tribute to the star power of Roscoe Lee Brown. The non-stop rioting is setting the stage for the Trump 2020 landslide, especially since the rioters are burning down Democratic cities. All those Democrats are going to vote for Trump. This is what happens when you have no factual information about anything. I'm 58 years old and I know how this story ends. I've lived through it before. First, leftists gave us the 1972 election. Nixon screwed up and had to resign, which made the hapless Gerald Ford president. He had no idea how to handle the economy, so Jimmy Carter was given the job. Guess what? Trump rebuilt the economy twice, and nobody sane blames him for the pandemic deaths. He's made massive inroads into all the non-white groups that the Democrats have taken for granted since 1968. I'm sure you haven't watched any of the all-black roundtable discussions Trump has hosted. Trump is the first president smart enough to not publicly criticize black inner cities for all the self-inflicted problems. He's resolutely positive, and his black surrogates go out and talk to people. That's the only way this was going to work. Now, we have white leftists using racial slurs on black people in public. Do you approve of white people telling black people their place in society? Conservatives don't do this. Video link in the description in the thread. So, you harass and call Rand Paul a racist because you're too stupid to know that he wrote legislation in memory of Breonna Taylor, and you call black people racist terms and tell them what they can and can't do in white-dominated society. And you burn down their businesses. This is the most politically suicidal behavior I've seen in my entire life. And I watched all the wars since the Korean War, all the social unrest since Watts, and all the domestic terrorism since the 1960s. Do you guys even know about white quasi-religious militias going nuts from the late 1970s to the April 19th, 1995 bombing of the Arthur P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City? The Turner Diaries, the assassination of Alan Berg, Waco. That was all about the Zionist Occupational Government, ZOG. As always, Jewish people were the boogeyman. Nobody had a coherent plan to defuse all of this, so it went on and on, escalating until the worst terrorist attack before 9/11. Then the militias all voluntarily disbanded. Turns out they were rational after all. You people are not rational. You're handing the entire country to Republicans, and you refuse to see it. And boy, do you underestimate Trump. From the late 1970s to the early 1990s, federal enforcement had to fight terrorists at a massive disadvantage. Guess what Trump did due to the pandemic? Invoked a national state of emergency and the Stafford Act. Guess what those mean? Regular U.S. military can be used as law enforcement. Special operations units, Delta Force, Navy SEALs, Green Berets, Air Force Special Reconnaissance, and Coast Guard Special Deployment Teams. They're all out there, unseen by you. Oops, sorry. And Marine Special Forces. Hoorah! The head of the U.S. Special Operations Command, USSOCOM, spent 2 decades fighting insurgencies. And Under the reorganization of the U.S. Armed Forces, authority is delegated down to the smallest possible deployed unit. When you send out the operators, they carry out their missions without having to report back to generals who leak. The tactical units are autonomous within the overstrategy. They've been collecting intelligence on you folks for months now. At your next riot, look at the rioter on your right and the rioter on your left. Chances are, one of them is a U.S. military operator. You people are amazing in your will to destroy yourselves. I approve.